And staying with that story, the first president of independent Namibia, Sam Nujoma, has died at the age of 95 in the capital, Windhoek. Now, Nujoma led the long fight for independence from South Africa in 1990. This is after helping found Namibia's liberation movement known as the Southwest People's Organization, Swapo, in the 1960s. Now, this is after independence. Nujoma became president in 1990 and led the country until 2005. Nujoma had been hospitalized over the past 3 weeks with an illness. For more on this now, we're joined by Professor Henning Melber from the Nordic Africa Institute to chat to us on the program. Prof, thank you so much for your time this hour. So, of course, a shining beacon of hope for the people of Namibia has fallen. Let me get your immediate reaction to the news of the passing.
Good morning, Kolisi, and good morning, everyone who is watching. Namibia is in mourning. It did not come entirely unexpected because President Sam Nujoma was hospitalized since more than a week, and we knew that he was in a very serious condition. But his passing away marked basically a year after President Hage Geingob passed away in office. And while that was remembered 3 days ago in Namibia, now Namibia is mourning again and paying tribute to the personification of Namibian independence. Tatekulu Sam Nujoma is an iconic, legendary figure when it comes to the liberation of Namibia. He personified, like nobody else, the struggle for independence. He was the founding president of Swapo. He was president for almost 50 years. He was a lasting, influential figure until a few years ago when his health deteriorated and he kind of stepped back from the public limelight. He's the only one who was a president in Namibia for 3 terms in office because he was appointed the president at independence by the Constituent Assembly, and then the National Assembly changed the constitution by allowing him to stand for another term to be elected by the people. So he served Namibia as a president for 3 terms in office until 2005. And he is largely considered to be a unifier who managed, despite the horrendous settler colonial legacy, to enter a trajectory of national reconciliation.
And I'm just taken aback to that announcement this morning by the Namibian president, when he was on NBC announcing the sad news. And, he described him as a towering figure, as you've also rightfully mentioned, who served 3 terms as the first president of Namibia. Let's talk about some of his notable achievements and the legacy that he leaves behind, Prof.
Yes, as I stressed, his first term in office was very much dedicated to seek a way for national reconciliation. Namibia faced a very deep divide, which is not unknown to South Africans, who in 1994 entered a similar trajectory and now have again a government of national unity. And Sam Nujoma was very keen to not enforce the divisions, but to find a way to bring together the Namibian people. And he managed to do so. Namibia has, since independence, not one single politically motivated killing. Keep that in mind and compare it with your own country. The whites have not left the country. They are, in their majority, better off now than they were prior to independence. They remain the most privileged single particular group. And again, that might sound familiar to all of you in South Africa. And it comes at a price because, like South Africa, Namibia has remained, together with South Africa, the most unequal country in the world. So while Nujoma deserves the praise of being a unifier and managing a transition in a very remarkable, peaceful way, there came costs. social transformation was limited. Truth and reconciliation was put aside for national reconciliation. In Namibia, in contrast to South Africa, there was never a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. The argument was we forget about the atrocities of the past and build a future of togetherness. So to give Nujoma the deserved tribute has also to highlight the limitations of such a transition, which is a kind of controlled change. And that, to that extent, shows the limits to liberation, which you are also facing and experiencing in South Africa. And the legacy Nujoma leaves behind is also posing the question, what might have been any alternatives, which is difficult, if not impossible, to answer. So on this sad day, he deserves the credit for what he achieved, but we should not gloss over the limitations of anyone who is tasked with such an insurmountable challenge.
And Prof, I want us to also maybe zoom into the current crop of leadership now. You know, President Nujoma leaves a void behind. And just to hear from you, what qualities do you think are needed to carry the baton forward and just carry the country forward with some of those values that President Nujoma held closest and dearest to his heart?
I think Namibians and the leadership in Swapo have to learn from the experiences in your country. The former liberation movement as government has to say goodbye to the heroic narrative. There is a new electorate, there are new challenges, and while Nujoma personified, like many others, the first and in the meantime the second struggle generation, the challenges are now in a different chapter. It doesn't help to refer to the achievements and the merits of the liberation struggle. The electorate, and especially the younger voters, are measuring government by the delivery of today and not of what they delivered in the past. So with the passing of Nujoma, and the phasing out of the last members of the first struggle generation in Namibia, which has a new cabinet as of March this year, the new political leadership has to address the challenges of the day and should not bask in the glorification of a past. It's a mistake most of the former liberation movements have made, and one needs to learn from that. While Nujoma remains the central figure in the patriotic history of Namibia, he is not the example for governance today. We need new leaders who are connected to the new, younger generations who measure government against what they deliver now and not what they have delivered in the past.
Listen, Prof, I must thank you so much for your time on the program and sharing your insights with us this hour. That is Professor Henning Melber from the Nordic Africa Institute. Thank you very much indeed.